hasn't already been said about Portal 2, one of the all-time classics. Portal 2 from Valve came out in 2011. It feels like just yesterday, but I was sucking and fucking my way to the top. The funny thing is, Portal 2 is one of those games that sticks with you. It's one that I've never thought back on and thought, I wonder if it aged well. It's like, it did. It did. And even with the barrage of meme material from the original Portal with the cake as a line and all that horse shit, somehow, some way, this series has managed to transcend the form of eroticism that it was originally birthed in, and managed to come out on top unscathed, unabashed, and more than anything, truly a iconic legend among the video game world. And I don't know what I'm saying. Here's what I want to say about Portal 2. The biggest detriment to Portal 2 is its length. I wish it was a 45-hour game with a million puzzles, and they actually did release additional content a few times. Let me back up a little bit and get all over the place. Portal 2 from Valve, the last great Valve game, certainly the last standard single-player game they ever made, takes you into the world of Aperture Labs, and you awaken millions and billions of years into the future, and you are forced to work with the portal gun Wheatley, voiced by Stephen Merchant, who does an absolutely excellent boom job. Genuinely, he hits it out of the park. And of course, GLaDOS is back, and Cave Johnson, voiced by J.K. Simmons. I'm just listing off random shit because that's all I can say. This was such a pleasure and a joy to go back to. It has not lost a single step. As I said before, somewhat jokingly, the game's length is like the only thing that sucks. Is like it's only about 7 hours, and I remember in 2011 when the game came out, I like powered through it because I was so scared, so worried about getting potentially spoiled that I think I beat it in like literally 2 sittings, because I just wanted to fucking know what happened. And it's just so funny because back then, I think most people didn't really think about. I fucking lost my train of thought because I just lost power in the middle of this recording. I don't know what the hell's going on. Portal 2 is just, it's so much fun. And I genuinely think it will never get old. There have been so many iterations. Like, it sucks because I remember when Portal 2 came out, it was like, all I wanted was another one. But it's like, in hindsight, it's like, I mean, how stupid of a request. Because Portal 2 wraps up the story so fucking well. It really is like the capper. It's so great. The performances are great. The gameplay is so much fun. The challenges are like just challenging enough to be like, because at certain points you might think of like possibly looking it up because you're like, I don't know what the fuck they do, but it's like you really got to push through and figure them out on your own. It's really rewarding in that way. There's a lot of secrets, a lot of side areas that you might not know. There's co-op campaign, a completely separate campaign that you can play co-op, which is a ton of fun. And I remember playing it years ago with my friend Ryan, and it was an absolute blast. Super like well done. They also made a little bit of DLC, but I feel like that was one thing they could have definitely made a million things of DLC for, and they never did. But that tends to be the thing with Valve. But yeah, I wanted to mention that there's also other weird things like there have been other games made that are like in the Portal verse, if you want to call it that. I don't really like Bridge Constructor Portal, which is like a whole separate game but adds elements of the Portal world into it in the mechanics. There's the Portal levels in Lego Dimensions, which they've got back the voice of GLaDOS for, and I never played that, but it always seemed interesting. When Valve Index came out, their VR system, they made a Portal VR game, an Aperture Labs VR game, which was cool. And then same with the Steam Deck. When that came out, they made the Aperture Desk Job, which was another short little tutorial game that featured the voice of Cave Johnson, J.K. Simmons in as well. So Portal is big. Portal has a big... I'm not even saying like, oh man, I wish it was more Portal. It's like, no. I mean, the first 2 games, especially Portal 2, give you everything you could possibly want and more. And that's great. It's just so... It's such a sadness because it's like, this is the last true single-player game Valve made. They also made Half-Life Alyx years later, but it is VR exclusive, so I wouldn't necessarily put it in the same ballpark. I think everyone in the world who's ever played a Valve game is like, man, just make one more single-player game. We're waiting years for it, but until then, I'll always have the pleasure of going back to play Portal 2 because it is absolute blast, and I highly recommend it and the first game if you've never played them.